Captain Marcus stood quietly in the Galactic Council Hall, eyes scanning the strange beings gathered from different worlds. He had been on many planets, seen many species, but nothing prepared him for her. She stood apart from the others, tall, elegant, with blue skin that glowed faintly like a soft moonlight. Her silver eyes shimmered, sharp and piercing, as if she saw more than what was on the surface. Her name was Solara, and she was from a species called the Elysians aliens with the rare power to read thoughts. Marcus had heard stories about her kind, warnings that no secret was safe around them. But standing before her now, he realized the stories did not do justice to the real thing. She wasn't just beautiful, she was otherworldly. She wore a simple silver robe that hugged her form, and her long white hair fell like silk over her shoulders. The council had ordered them to work together on a mission, one that required both human courage and Elysian telepathy. Marcus tried to remain professional, tried to focus on the mission briefing, but his mind betrayed him. His thoughts wandered, wondering how her skin might feel, how her lips might taste, how those eyes would look if she smiled for him alone. And in that quiet room, Solara turned her head slowly towards him. Their eyes met. For a long, painful moment, Marcus stood frozen. Then, to his horror, a small smirk formed on her lips. It was not cruel, nor was it angry. It was amused, sly, almost playful. Marcus's heart sank. She had read his thoughts, every dirty, shameful fantasy that flashed through his head in her presence. He swallowed hard, sweat beading on his forehead. What was he supposed to do now? How could he explain that? He didn't mean to think those things. Before he could stop himself, Marcus stepped closer. His voice came out awkward and soft. "I'm sorry, that was unprofessional. I didn't mean to ... Solara tilted her head, eyes still fixed on him, the smirk still dancing on her lips. She didn't speak, she didn't need to. Her eyes said it all. She heard everything, and she wasn't offended. She was entertained. Marcus wanted the ground to open and swallow him whole. Never had he felt more exposed. He looked away, trying to hide his face, but he knew the damage was done. He expected her to report him to the council, to accuse him of disrespect. Yet, she said nothing. Instead, she walked past him, her shoulder brushing lightly against his as she passed. Her voice, soft and smooth, whispered near his ear. "Humans think loudly," she said, then continued walking without another word. Marcus stood there, stunned, heart pounding. He didn't know whether to be relieved or terrified. She had called him out, yet she didn't seem angry. But what did that smirk mean? Was she mocking him, or did she enjoy the attention? That night, in his quarters, Marcus couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her smirk. That knowing smile that teased and challenged him without saying a single word. He replayed the moment again and again, his mind racing with confusion and curiosity. Why didn't she scold him? Why didn't she report him? And most of all, why did she smirk? There was something about Solara that was dangerous. Not just because she could read minds, but because she made him feel exposed and alive at the same time. She wasn't just reading his thoughts, she was playing with them. The next day, they were sent on their first joint mission together to investigate a derelict alien ship floating in deep space. As they boarded the dark, abandoned vessel, Marcus tried to focus on the task, tried to act normal. But every time they crossed paths in the narrow halls of the ship, she gave him that same smirk. She didn't have to say a word. The smirk said everything. He was under her spell, and she knew it. And for some reason, he wasn't sure he wanted to break free. The forbiddance meeting was just the beginning. Marcus had no idea that his accidental thoughts had started something neither of them could control. Something that would change both their fates forever. Solara's smirk was not just a reaction, it was a promise. A dangerous, thrilling promise of what was yet to come. Marcus tried to forget that moment in the council hall. He told himself it was just a mistake, a passing embarrassment, that would fade. But it didn't. That smirk, her teasing, knowing smile was burned into his mind. No matter how hard he tried, it kept appearing in his thoughts like a shadow that refused to leave. Their mission had officially begun. The council sent them to explore a newly discovered planet, a strange world rich with old ruins and unknown dangers. Marcus and Solara traveled together in a small ship, and for hours, silence filled the air between them. Yet the silence was heavier than any storm. Marcus sat at the control panel, pretending to check readings, but he could feel her presence behind him. She wasn't just standing there. She was listening to his every thought, every hidden feeling. He could almost sense her smile without even turning. Finally, he broke the silence. "You're still listening, aren't you?" Solara, who stood near the window watching the stars, replied softly, "I don't need to try." "Your thoughts are loud." He turned, his face hot with embarrassment. "I can't help it. Humans don't have shields like you do." She smiled gently this time. "I know. That's why you're interesting." Her words stunned him. Interesting? He expected her to be disgusted, or at least annoyed. But instead, she was curious. She watched him as if he was a puzzle she enjoyed solving. They landed on the strange planet by nightfall. The sky was deep purple, lit by twin moons. The ruins they had to explore stood tall and broken, like the skeletons of ancient cities. Marcus led the way, flashlight in hand, while Solara walked beside him silently, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. But every now and then, she would glance at him, and that smirk returned, playful and challenging. Marcus tried to focus on the ruins, but her gaze made his heart beat faster. At one point, they stopped at a wide stone door covered in strange symbols. Marcus examined the carvings. "I think this is some kind of warning," he said, trying to stay professional. Solara chuckled softly. "You're trying so hard to stay serious," Marcus sighed. "I have to. Otherwise, you'll hear things I don't want anyone to know." She stepped closer, her face just inches from his. Her voice was a soft whisper. "I already know. And I'm not offended, Marcus." His name on her lips made his knees weak. Then why do you keep smirking like that? She looked at him with a spark in her eyes. "Because you're fun to listen to. And because your thoughts aren't so different from my own." Marcus blinked, surprised. "You mean?" She didn't answer directly. Instead, she walked past him, running her fingers lightly along the carved door. "There are things we Elysians are not supposed to feel, but curiosity is dangerous. And so is desire." Those words hung in the air, heavy and charged. Before Marcus could respond, a low rumble shook the ground. The ancient door began to open slowly, stone grinding against stone. Solara stepped back, her eyes serious now. "We've awakened something," she said. From the darkness beyond the door, a cold wind blew, carrying whispers in a language neither of them understood. Marcus raised his flashlight, but the beam barely touched the shadows. Solara grabbed his arm, her grip firm. "Be careful. Something is watching us." Marcus nodded, heart pounding. For a moment, the smirk was gone from her face, replaced by genuine concern. But as they stepped forward together into the dark, Solara's voice brushed against his mind. "Don't think dirty thoughts right now, Marcus. Or I'll really get distracted." Even in the face of danger, she couldn't resist teasing him. And despite the fear, Marcus smiled. Somehow he wasn't afraid, not when she was at his side. Whatever was hiding in the dark ruins, Marcus knew this much: Solara wasn't just reading his thoughts, she was inviting them. And that smirk? That was her way of daring him to keep thinking the things she secretly wanted to hear. And Marcus? He was already too deep to stop now. The air inside the ruins was heavy and cold. Every step Marcus took echoed in the darkness, while Solara moved beside him like a shadow, graceful and silent. But inside Marcus's mind, everything was loud. His thoughts raced, not just with Fear of what hid in the shadows, but with the memory of her words. Your thoughts aren't so different from my own. That single sentence haunted him more than any monster could. What did she mean by that? Did she feel the same attraction? Was she playing with him, or was there something real between them? Suddenly, the flashlight caught something on the wall, symbols glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Solara stopped and placed her hand on the stone, closing her eyes. Marcus watched her, noticing the delicate curve of her face, the way her silver eyes fluttered shut, her lips slightly parted as if she was listening to a distant voice. She was beautiful, but dangerous, like a flame that dared you to touch it, knowing it would burn. Then Solara's eyes opened, and she smiled, not her usual smirk, but a real, warm smile. This place remembers desires, she whispered. It's built to read what hearts crave the most. Marcus raised a brow. What does that mean? She turned to him, her gaze deep and knowing. It means this place is listening to us. To you. At that very moment, the walls started shifting. Stone moved and formed images, shadows and figures that seemed to mimic thoughts. Marcus gasped when one of the images looked suspiciously like Solara. She was standing close to a figure shaped like him, their forms intertwined. Solara laughed softly. Interesting. So this is what your mind is showing? Marcus felt his face heat up. I didn't mean. I mean I can't control what I think. Solara stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. I know, and neither can I. For a brief moment, their faces were just inches apart. Marcus could feel the warmth of her breath, the spark between them growing impossible to ignore. But before he could say or do anything foolish, a loud roar echoed through the ruins. The ground trembled, and the shadows on the walls came to life, forming a creature made of darkness and stone, with eyes like burning coals. Marcus instinctively raised his weapon, but Solara stopped him. Weapons won't work here. This being feeds on emotions, on desire, and fear. Marcus stared at the beast. Great, so what do we do? Hide our feelings? Solara shook her head slowly. No, we embrace them. She grabbed his hand, pulling him close, their bodies almost touching. Marcus's heart raced as their minds connected deeper, more intense than ever before. He felt her presence in his thoughts fully, now not just reading but sharing. He could feel her desire, her curiosity, and even her secret longing for him. Solara's voice whispered in his mind. Let me in fully, Marcus. Don't hide anything. He didn't hold back. He thought of her, of the way he wanted her, of how she haunted his dreams since the first smirk. He let those thoughts pour freely, raw and unfiltered. The creature in front of them howled, shaking violently, confused by the sudden flood of emotions. It faltered, its form breaking apart as if it couldn't handle the strength of shared desire. Marcus held Solara tightly. Is this working? She smiled against his cheek. Yes, together we're stronger than it. Keep thinking about me, Marcus chuckled. That won't be hard. With their minds fully open, the creature crumbled to dust, vanishing into the stone it came from. The ruins fell silent once more, leaving only the sound of their breathing and the undeniable connection between them. Solara pulled back slightly, her face flushed. See? Your thoughts saved us. Marcus laughed breathlessly. Glad my embarrassing mind was useful for once. She looked at him with a new expression, soft, vulnerable, but still playful. Marcus, you have no idea how rare it is for my kind to feel this alive. He stared into her eyes, knowing there was no turning back now. I don't want this to stop. Neither did she, but deep inside, they both knew they had crossed a line. Their connection wasn't just mental anymore. It was emotional. It was dangerous. And it was just the beginning. They returned to the ship. But neither Marcus nor Solara spoke much on the journey back. The ruins had changed something between them. It wasn't just about thoughts anymore. It was about feelings unspoken, but undeniable. Marcus sat in the cockpit, pretending to focus on the ship's controls, but his mind was elsewhere. He could still feel her in his head, not her voice, but her presence, like a soft glow in the back of his mind. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was warm. Suddenly, Solara entered the cockpit, standing silently behind him. Marcus could feel her gaze, heavy and watchful. Without turning, he chuckled nervously. "You're doing it again," he said. "Reading." "Me? I'm not trying," Solara replied softly. "The connection is lingering. That shouldn't happen." Marcus frowned and turned to face her. "What do you mean?" "I thought you Elysians could read and then forget." Solara walked closer, her silver eyes serious now, her playful smirk gone. "Not when emotions are involved. Not when desires are strong. In my species, if we connect deeply during such feelings, a bond begins to form." Marcus raised a brow. "A bond? Like what friendship?" She shook her head. "No, Marcus, much deeper. A telepathic link. Permanent. Unbreakable." The words hit him hard. "Permanent?" He stared at her, trying to understand. "You mean you'll always be in my head?" "If the bond completes, yes," she answered. "And if it happens, it's not just reading thoughts, it's sharing them. I'll feel what you feel. You'll feel what I feel, always." Marcus swallowed hard. "And is that bad?" Solara looked down, her voice quieter. "It's forbidden. Our laws don't allow Elysians to bond with humans. Our minds aren't supposed to connect permanently with other species. It's dangerous." Marcus stared at her, the weight of her words settling deep. He didn't know what scared him more, the risk of breaking laws, or how much he wanted that connection with her anyway. He stood up, walking closer to her. "So what happens if the bond completes?" She looked up into his eyes, her expression torn between desire and fear. "We'll be hunted by the council. They'll call it contamination. We'll both be punished." Marcus let out a slow breath. "You knew this and still you teased me. Still you smirked at my thoughts?" Her lips curved into that familiar smile. Again, but this time there was sadness behind it. "I couldn't help it. I've never heard thoughts like yours before. So raw. So honest, no walls, no pretense." Marcus chuckled bitterly. "Yeah, well, it wasn't on purpose. I wasn't exactly proud of those thoughts." She stepped closer. "But I liked them." Those words hung in the air, heavier than gravity. Marcus didn't know what to say. He wanted her badly, but now he understood the price. If they got closer, if they crossed that final line, there was no going back. "You're saying if we ... If I kissed you now," Marcus whispered, "that bond would complete?" Solara nodded slowly. "Yes, and then ... we'd be hunted." They stood inches apart, the pull between them like a magnet. Marcus could feel her hesitation. Her fear, but also her craving. She wanted him just as much as he wanted her. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Solara said quietly, "This is your choice, Marcus. If you walk away now, the bond will fade. If you don't." She didn't finish her sentence. She didn't have to. Marcus stared into her eyes, feeling her emotions pressing gently against his mind, her loneliness, her longing, her hunger for connection. He smiled sadly. "I've always been bad at walking away from danger." Solara's eyes widened slightly, her breath caught, but she didn't move. She waited. And Marcus? He stepped forward, closing the distance, until their lips almost touched, but he stopped just a breath away. "I want this," he said, "but not just for the bond. I want you." Solara's eyes shimmered with emotion. "Then take me, Marcus. But understand, after this, we'll never be apart." Not even in thought. Marcus didn't hesitate anymore. He kissed her. And in that moment, their minds shattered and reformed together. Every barrier fell. He felt her completely, her fears, her hopes, her secret dreams. She felt his passion, his bravery, his loneliness. The bond was sealed. And far away, somewhere deep in the council's core, a beacon lit up. They were now marked. Hunted. But never alone again. The moment their lips touched, the universe itself seemed to pause. Marcus had kissed women before, but this was something else. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a door opening inside his mind. A flood of thoughts and feelings that weren't his own. He felt Solara's warmth, her secret fears, her hidden desire for connection. He felt her loneliness, the heavy burden of hearing everyone's minds, but never truly being close to anyone. But now with him, she wasn't just reading his thoughts, she was inside them. Solara gasped softly against his lips, feeling the same storm. She clung to him, as if afraid that letting go would make it all vanish. Their minds wrapped tightly together, like two streams merging into one. But deep in space, far from their small ship, alarms flashed. Somewhere within the Galactic Council's hidden archives, a forbidden alert had been triggered. The ancient system that monitored Elysian bonds had detected an illegal connection. A human and an Elysian had crossed the line. The Council's enforcers, known as the Mind Wardens, were immediately notified, and they were coming. Back on the ship, Marcus and Solara slowly broke the kiss, breathing hard. They stared at each other, fully connected, fully exposed. There were no more secrets. Marcus could feel how much she wanted him, not just physically, but emotionally. She had craved someone who saw her as more than a telepath, more than a tool. And she felt Marcus's soul, the brave soldier tired of being alone in the vastness of space, always pretending to be tougher than he was. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. Their minds whispered what their mouths couldn't say. But then, a sharp alarm blared through the ship. A warning beacon. Marcus rushed to the control panel, his heart sinking as he saw the scanners. 3 ships were approaching. Fast, sleek, black and armed council enforcers. They found us, Marcus muttered. Solara's face grew pale. The Mind Wardens, Marcus looked at her. What will they do? They'll erase us, Solara said quietly. They'll kill you, and they'll strip my mind bare, erase all traces of you. It's their way of keeping the species pure. Marcus cursed under his breath. He wasn't a stranger to death, but this was worse. He had just found something real, someone real, and now they wanted to rip it away. Not happening, Marcus growled. He grabbed his pilot controls, firing up the engines. We're running, Solara touched his shoulder, her eyes sad. We can't outrun them forever. Their ships are faster. Maybe, but I'm not letting them take you. Her eyes filled with a soft glow. She could feel his determination, his defiance. Even when the galaxy hunted him, Marcus refused to surrender. As the engines roared, Marcus piloted the ship into the depths of space. The council ships followed, firing warning shots. Explosions rocked their small vessel, lights flickering, alarms screaming. Marcus, Solara whispered in his mind, we have a chance. But we'll have to use the bond. How? He asked. Aloud. If we sink completely, our minds can guide the ship together. I can sense their attacks before they happen. But it means opening everything. Total trust. Marcus didn't hesitate. Do it. Solara placed her hands on his temples, closing her eyes. Their minds fused fully, no barriers, no walls. Suddenly, Marcus saw flashes, visions of enemy ships, where they would strike, how to dodge. It was like seeing the future a second before it happened. He weaved the ship between blasts, flying with impossible precision. Their minds worked as one. Her thoughts became his instincts. His bravery became her strength. Together, they danced through space, evading the enemy's grasp. But the Mind Wardens were relentless. Their leader, a cold Elysian named Varix, watched from his ship, his expression void of mercy. Prepare the Mind Spear, Varix ordered. We'll sever their bond directly. Kill the human. Bring the girl back. Back on their small ship, Marcus and Solara both felt a sharp pain in their heads. "They're targeting the bond," Solara gasped. "If they succeed, I'll forget you, Marcus, forever." Marcus clenched his fists on the controls. "I won't let that happen." But deep down, he knew running wasn't enough. They had to fight, and Marcus was ready to fight the entire galaxy to keep the one connection he'd never found before. The Mind Wardens were coming, but Marcus and Solara were no longer just human and alien. They were one mind, one heart, and they would not be broken. Marcus steered the ship wildly through an asteroid field, sharp rocks spinning all around them. The enemy ships followed close, their weapons firing relentlessly. Every blast that missed made Marcus push harder, dodging with moves that seemed impossible. But he wasn't doing it alone. Solara was inside his mind, guiding him, showing him paths he couldn't see. Their bond was no longer just a connection, it was a lifeline. Yet, even with her help, they couldn't run forever. Marcus gritted his teeth. "We can't keep this up much longer." Solara, still seated behind him with her hands on his shoulders, nodded. "We need a place to hide somewhere deep and dark." Through the bond, Solara searched his memories, places he'd been, places he'd heard of. Then one flashed in both their minds, an abandoned space station, forgotten in deep space, no longer on any maps. Marcus smiled faintly. "You saw that, huh?" Solara smiled back. "Yes, it's risky, but it's all we have." He turned the ship sharply, heading straight for the station. The enemy ships chased them, unaware of the trap Marcus planned in his mind. Finally, the broken shape of the space station came into view, silent, massive, and surrounded by debris. Marcus powered down the ship just before entering, coasting silently through the wreckage. They landed inside the dark hangar, cutting all lights. The station was dead, no power, no signals. The enemy ships flew past, missing them entirely. For now they were safe. Inside the dark cockpit, both Marcus and Solara sat in silence, breathing heavily. The bond between them was still strong. Marcus could feel her exhaustion, her relief, and her fear. "They'll come back," she whispered. "They won't stop." Marcus turned to her, eyes soft. "Let them come. I'm not letting them take you, not now, not ever." Solara looked at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She bit her lip, as if holding back words. But Marcus already felt them in her mind, her doubt, her longing. "Say it," Marcus whispered. "Don't hide from me." Solara closed her eyes for a moment, then spoke. "I've never done this before, Marcus. I've read thousands of minds, but none of them stayed. None of them felt like home." Marcus's chest tightened. "You feel that too?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, when I'm connected to you, I feel alive in a way I never did. It's not just your thoughts, it's you. Your stubbornness, your courage, your loneliness. I feel it all. And I don't want to lose it." Marcus reached out, taking her hand. "You won't, I promise." Their fingers intertwined, the connection between them growing deeper, warmer. Marcus could feel her trembling, not from fear of the enemy, but from the fear of losing him. She whispered, "I used to smirk because your thoughts made me curious. I stayed close because I liked hearing them. But now I'm scared. Because if they take you from me, I lose the only mind that ever truly wanted me, not as a weapon, but as a person." Marcus smiled softly. "You're not a weapon, Solara. You're amazing, and I'm not afraid of them. I'm only afraid of losing this us." For a while, they sat in the dark, their hands locked, their minds intertwined. In that quiet space, they shared memories, emotions, and even silent dreams. Marcus showed her his childhood memories running on Earth, watching the stars, wishing for something more. Lara showed him her lonely life on her world, surrounded by thoughts, but never touched, never loved. They were two lonely souls who had finally found each other. But outside the station, the Mind Wardens returned, their scanners sweeping the debris. They would find them soon. Time was running out. Marcus looked at Solara with determination. We can't keep running. If we want to live, we'll have to fight. Solara's eyes flashed. Then we fight together, one mind, one heart, Marcus added. They stood, ready to defend their bond, their love and their freedom. Together, they prepared for the final battle, knowing the galaxy wanted them apart. But their connection was stronger than any law, any fear. They weren't just human and alien anymore. They were one, and they would face the universe as one. The old space station creaked around them, metal groaning like an ancient beast stirring from a long sleep. Marcus and Solara stood side by side in the dark hangar, listening to the distant hum of enemy ships closing in. The Mind Wardens had returned, and this time, they knew exactly where to look. Marcus checked his weapon, though he knew it wouldn't be enough. Solara stood close, her eyes shimmering brighter than before, her mind fully linked with his. He could feel her calm resolve, but also her fear, not for herself, but for him. They're here, Solara whispered, her voice steady but soft. I can hear their thoughts. Marcus took a deep breath. How many? 3 ships. At least 10 wardens on board. All trained to sever bonds like ours. Marcus smiled faintly. Good. We'll give them a fight they'll never forget. Solara glanced at him, her eyes warming. Marcus ... Before we fight, I want to tell you something. What is it? She hesitated, then stepped closer, her forehead resting lightly against his. In the quiet, her thoughts flowed into his mind gently, like a secret only for him. I never smirked to mock you. I smirked because your thoughts made me feel wanted, desired. You saw me not as a mind reader, but as a woman. Marcus closed his eyes, smiling. I know, and I've never wanted anyone more. They stayed like that for a moment, 2 hearts beating as one, 2 minds fused in a connection deeper than love itself. Then the sound of heavy boots echoed through the halls. The Mind Wardens had arrived. Time's up, Marcus muttered, pulling back, raising his weapon. Let's make them regret coming here. Solara's eyes glowed fiercely. She raised her hand, and Marcus could feel power rising within her. Through their bond, her abilities became clearer, stronger. She wasn't just a telepath. She could bend minds, confuse enemies, weaken their focus. And with Marcus beside her, guiding her with his instincts, they were unstoppable. The first Warden squad stormed into the hangar, black armor shining in the dim light, their leader Varric stepping forward. Elysian Solara, human Marcus. By the laws of the Council, you are ordered to surrender. The bond is forbidden. Sever it, or die. Marcus raised his weapon. You'll have to kill me first. Solara stood tall, her voice echoing in their minds. You'll never touch him. Not while I still breathe. Varric sneered. Then you will both be erased. With that, the Wardens attacked. But Marcus and Solara moved like one being. He fired precise shots, while Solara clouded the enemy's minds, making them see illusions, making their aim useless. Marcus felt her presence guiding his every move, each step, each shot, like she was his second heartbeat. She felt his courage, his sharp instincts, using them to predict every enemy's motion. Together, they danced through the chaos, unstoppable, but Varric's was powerful. He launched a mental spear straight at their bond, a sharp, cutting force meant to slice through their connection. Marcus cried out, pain searing his mind. Solara screamed too, falling to her knees, clutching her head. Marcus, hold on to me, don't let go. Marcus fell beside her, grabbing her hand. He focused every thought, every memory, every feeling he had for her, her laugh, her smirk, her kindness, her strength. He poured it all into the bond. I won't let them take you, he whispered, his eyes burning with determination. You're mine, Solara, I'm yours. Their minds flared, burning brighter than before. The spear shattered. Varric staggered back, eyes wide. Impossible. Solara rose to her feet, power swirling around her like a storm. You can't break what's meant to be. With a scream of fury, she unleashed a wave of pure mental force, knocking the wardens to the ground. Marcus stood with her, firing. One last shot that sent Varric sprawling. The wardens retreated, beaten and broken. Silence filled the hangar again. Marcus and Solara stood in the center, breathing hard but victorious. She turned to him, tears in her glowing eyes. We did it. Marcus smiled, brushing a lock of her white hair aside. We did, she whispered. They'll send more. No, Marcus said. But wherever we go, we'll go together. They kissed again, not just with lips, but with minds and souls intertwined. They left the old station behind, heading into deep space fugitives, but free, and no matter how far the council chased them, one truth remained unbreakable. They were bonded, forever, not just in thought, but in love.